Hey, for Friday, August 7th, 2020, this is the Pro and Con Show, and I'm your host, Michael James Ott. As always, welcome to the show. So today's show is called Castles, and we'll get to why I called it that here in a moment. But again, just a few words about being better citizens. Okay, we've got to be better citizens. I beg you, please, please, please spend some time. I know there's frustration and stuff like that. Try to put it behind you with the idea and vision that we can do better. Citizen statesman, by the way, citizen statesman. Look at past videos, citizen statesman. Okay. If you want to do it way better, we can do it. We can do it. We will do it someday. The question is when. All right. But today, because of the way information can come to us and the availability, the World Wide Web, and all this other stuff. There's a lot of different information out there, and we have to spend some time to be good citizens, to ferret out the pro and the con, the good and the bad, the for and against. Okay, and that means not just watching your favorite so-called news channel. I do the air quotes because, again, so many of them, it's not the news, it's not the who, what, where, and when. It's a little bit of who, what, where, and when, followed by hours of, opinion and rhetoric and bias and all kinds of stuff that these so-called news outlets, they call themselves news, but it's not news, or at least it's only 3% news. Okay. Anyway, so today's show is called Castles, and what caused me to let me get this image up here. Oops, wait a second here. So, as many of us are these days, we're spending a fair amount of time not really socializing with each other, and appropriately so, by the way. We should try to do what we can to minimize socialization with others to the extent that we can tolerate, because for sure, if I'm sitting in my house and you're sitting in your house, the probability that if I have an active case of coronavirus and you don't, the probability is almost zero, right? Or is zero, that I'm going to give you the coronavirus and you could get very, very sick from that. And so it's appropriate, right, that we're doing what we can. And of course, when we go out in public, we're going to wash our hands a lot, a lot around the house too, wear face masks in public, try to stay away from each other, 6, 8, 10 feet, whatever we can do there. And all those things will basically do a tremendous amount to tide us over until we reach a place where we have, effective treatments and or effective vaccines, where we can kind of go back to normal, or more normal of what it was before we had to do these things. But anyway, so I'm at home and I'm watching certain things, and I'm exercising. I have an elliptical, so I get on the elliptical. I'll put something. There's a television in the room, so I put something on the television, and exercise. Get on the elliptical and just kind of go through half an hour, whatever, to get some exercise. And one of the shows, again, was it? Oh, no, this was on CBS. So on the CBS app, they have a program called Aerial America, and there's some other aerial programs, but I thought, okay, it's seeing some of these things, whether it's national parks or man-made structures like the Golden Gate Bridge or whatever, seeing them from the perspective of a drone or a helicopter or something, it's kind of interesting. Okay. And so one of the things that at the very beginning of one of the very first programs was a program about California. So Aerial America, California. So about 45 minutes plus minus of various aerial scenes of famous places in California. And one of them was the Hearst Mansion, castle actually is what they call it. And I stopped the video and I took a picture of my television so you could see this thing constructed by a very, very wealthy person in California back in the day. So Randolph Hearst, and he was a news baron, if you will. He owned newspapers and stuff like that, and he was a very powerful, influential person, and he was very wealthy. And so during his life, he decided at some point, several years before he died, that he was going to build this grand facility, this grand structure. And so he did. And he spent millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars on this. And it's, quite lavish. There's, various fountains and pools and beautiful ornate structures, hand carved, all kinds of statuary and trees and gardens, and it just goes on and on and on, right? So just someone who's spending millions and millions and millions and millions, probably these days it'd be billions of dollars, in creating this place. And so they're flying over it, flying around it, and you're seeing this place, and okay, it's got a certain, wow, this was built, and it's, to me, it's interesting that this person spent this money on this. And then, as they're talking about it, they talk about some of the architecture and stuff like that, and where it was influenced from, and a lot of this was from areas in Europe, and so Europe. So I was living in southern Germany and traveling to various places in Europe, and of course, there are many castles in Europe. And all of these places, whether it's the Hearst Castle or the various palaces and castles throughout Europe, they're all tributes to wealth and power of individuals who wanted to leave a legacy behind that's like, well, I was this wealthy person, and oh, look at this building that I built, the Taj Mahal in India. Various castles throughout Europe. This Hearst Castle, there's, it goes on and on and on. There's dozens, if not hundreds, if not maybe even thousands of places like this around the world. The pyramids, they are tributes built by somebody because they are powerful, wealthy people who thought that by building this thing, people would remember them. And they do. It's true. But they remember them as these, empty facades without worth today. So this thing, he died in 1951. It wasn't completed yet, but in his will or whatever, he left the money for it to be completed. And over the course of a handful of years, it was completed. And then also in his will, I think, if I heard the documentary right, he left it to the state of California. And so now it is, this place where tourists come. They said that in a normal year, maybe as many as 1 million people will make the trek. It's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. They'll make the trek to go out to this thing and see it. So they get 1 million people that come and see this thing. But, from the perspective of what good is it doing? And I guarantee you, I didn't even know this place existed. until this aerial thing was on. And there are people in California, obviously, that do know that it exists. And there's apparently 1 million people a year that figure it out and go visit it. But that's a very small number of people. And the the kind of positive thing that they're getting from that is they're getting a little bit of entertainment. But just think about all the millions and millions, if not now in modern money, $1 billion or whatever, that went into this, and what it would have done if it had gone into foundations to help elderly people overcome Alzheimer's disease, or to just generically help the mentally ill. I mean, we have a big problem in this country with mental illness. I mean, it's not just us, it's around the globe. But getting people who have mental health issues, which is a real thing, and there's millions of people that suffer from this, and having funds available and people and structures and everything available to them to make their lives better, would be a legacy that people would be talking about, not by 1 million or 2 people coming to see this, but by the hundreds of millions, if not billions of people. You see? So this all, again, goes back to, we have the wrong definition of success. And in this case, it's excess. Okay, we acquire wealth, power, and influence, and we build castles to ourselves. And I can't think of a more empty, lifeless thing than that. We need to redefine success in terms of service to the planet and the other people on it. And if we do that, and if you do that, I guarantee you, no matter who you are going to be remembered many, many fold over if you just acquire all the wealth that you can, live in a nice house, drive a nice car, and die. What's your legacy going to be? Redefine success in your life. Have a legacy that's lasting and meaningful, and not just he lived, he worked, bought a fancy house, bought a fancy car, and died. For the Pro and Con Show, I'm Michael James Ott, and until the next show, bye for now.